This is a peony stock bed. You've just got fantastic, lovely, great big flowers. And the scent from that, the perfume from the peony is absolutely fantastic. Weeding isn't the most glamorous job in the world, but it is one that makes a huge difference. Welcome back to Andyn Farm, our 6 acres of nursery, field and woodland. So we're going to be weeding around some of our roses, getting some mulch down, and then later on we're going to take a walk down to the river and hopefully see what's starting to emerge in the way of native plants. So let's crack on. So this rose has been putting on some really good growth, but it's starting to get crowded out by weeds. So before we can mulch, we need to clear around the base of the plant. This was a lovely clear bed that we'd done. We were originally going to create a special rose bed for trialling these, but unfortunately we ran out of time. So we healed them into what was at a time a clear bed, but being a clear bed at the side of the meadow has meant that I do have lots of competing weeds growing up around the base of these roses. So I'm just going to clear around the base, and then if I get a chance I'll get a bit of a mulch back round them. I was talking, I think, in one of the other videos the other week about how once trees and shrubs have been established, you can actually leave some of the undergrowth underneath and it helps to conserve the moisture. But with newly planted trees and shrubs and perennials and plants, really you want to keep them weed free to avoid any competition at the base. And ideally I probably should have mulched around the base of these already. So, but they're already coming into flower, which is quite early, but the scent from this one, which I think is King's Rose, is absolutely stunning. I'm actually weeding out here seedlings of yellow toad flax, grass. So if you come in, this is yellow toad flax, which is a lovely wildflower that'll have a bright yellow flower at the tips. We've got a lot of it through our meadow, we're very lucky, but because it's in the wrong place, I'm going to take it out. So at the end of the day, a weed is just a plant that's in the wrong place. I love it where it's growing just behind me in the meadow, but around the base of these plants, we want to try and keep it clear. So we are actually taking these out. Okay, so now we've weeded around the roses. The next step, now they've had a drink, is to apply the mulch. There are lots of different organic things that you can use for mulching, but one of the simplest and freest available is chip bark. So probably only got enough in my tub for one, but I'm just going to put a carpet around the base of the rose bush, which is just going to help to conserve some of the moisture around the base. The key thing with applying any mulch, if I just show you around this plant, is we're leaving a clear ring of soil around the base of the plant, and I want my mulch to be on top of where the roots are going to develop for the rose around the outside. But I leave a clear ring so the mulch isn't right up against the stem, because that could encourage the stem of the plant or the stem of the tree to rot. So we always try and aim for a 2 to 3 inch donut effect, basically. So whenever you're putting a mulch down, think donut, don't think volcano. One of the easiest mistakes when mulching, people think they're doing it well, is they pile it all up against the stem of the plant. And by doing that, you can actually cause the stem of the plant to rot. So if you can create this clear ring around the base, I've used chip bark here. It could be cardboard wetted down to hold into place. It could be compost. It could be your garden compost. Mulch basically conserves moisture and as well as suppressing weeds, and gradually, if you use an organic mulch over time, it helps to improve the soil structure as it breaks down into the soil. And looking at that, I need far more bark than I actually brought across in that one tub. The rest of the day was spent tackling a few other weedy areas around the nursery. It's one of those ongoing jobs that never really ends at this time of year, but every little helps. So we're going to pause some of the nursery jobs for now because, as I say, they're never ending. Let's just pop down to the river and see what's happening among the native plants. One of the things we really love about this site is watching the seasons unfold. Every few weeks something new appears. It's always interesting to see what native species are emerging. So if you look at this little patch here just behind me, or just in front of me now, we've got coltsfoot, ferns, grasses, sedge, and there's a water figwort just coming down in the centre there, which is just here. It's going to open to a red flower. Again, it's a really nice British native wildflower. And there's another one there just by my fingers. You can see it's just about to flower. And just see the first little petals starting to open. So again, it's really good for bees. There is a lot of work every year, but it's worth it. And it's lovely to see that we've got a lot of the British wildflower species coming back because we've managed the space. So before we finish, let's have a quick look around the nursery and see what we can find. One of the things we like to try and do, because they're putting on active growth over the summer, is to try and trim some of our topiary. The most important thing at this time of year is always check first that you don't have any nesting birds in any bushes that you're looking at this time of year. And if there was any sign of nesting or any bird life in there, we wouldn't be doing this. But as this is completely clear at the moment, I just want to start by very, very lightly putting back some of the shape to the copper beech. So this is one that we've been doing as a triple tier with 3 different levels, and I'm just going to come in just above a bud and start basically giving it a very light haircut. We'll probably end up doing these maybe 2 or 3 times over the summer, but this is just going to help it to form its new, or redefine its shape, and still allow time for plenty of summer growth. So what I've done with this particular one over the last few years is we've allowed growth to develop at the middle, at the base, at the middle and the top, and then I've actually put a guard round. We cleared off or rubbed off the stem growth that was coming into these 2 clear trunk areas. So that's been rubbed off by hand. And then what we've done is we've put the collars over the top just to try and discourage new growth coming, but also it allows the shape and structure. It's just that at this time of year, you can see it's already probably put 12 or 18 inches of growth on. So basically by putting those collars on over the last few years, it helps me to look and identify the shape, and also helps me to be able to visualize how I want it to look. If we're in the middle of a heat wave and you're not going to be going out and watering your trees, I would defer and leave it over the summer. But because we're very lucky, we've got a drip system set up, so we are watering our trees and we're growing them on. But it is a great time, as long as there's nothing nesting in there, just to give them a light trim and help to redefine the shape. And as you can see, the grass that's not been cut for 2 weeks because it's been so wet definitely is needing topping again, so we can clear into these pathways. So you'll see on one of the clips that I actually started clearing some of the bigger weeds from here the other day, but now that the bigger stuff is out of the way, there is still some young growth that's coming through in the way of weeds just at the base of the trees. So as long as I'm very careful around my lines, a quick and easy way to keep the weed growth away from the base is simply by using a hoe. So, and as you can see, it's very easy just pushing the hoe across the surface, and hopefully just keeping down that new growth. So the key thing with this hoe that I really love is the double serrated blade. So it will cut on the push and it will also cut on the pull. And it sits nice and flat on the ground and you can just pull it very gently backwards and forwards. I find it particularly useful to stay on top of young weed growth. So, and that is an awful lot easier than being on my knees all the time. Okie dokie. Well, thank you for joining us on our journey again this week. We really enjoy sharing what we're doing with you. If there's any particular gardening content you'd like us to include in a future vlog, then please feel free to put it in the comments. Thank you for watching.